Hi, today we're going to look at some of the accessibility options that are included with your iPad. Specifically, we'll look at a few of the vision options. I've chosen a few that I believe are probably the ones that you would make most use of. However, there are many other options. I encourage you to try them, but word of caution, only try one option at a time or you could end up in a real mess. So try one of the options, see what it does for you, and then set it back. Okay, let's get started. Firstly, we need to go to Settings, which, if you remember, is the little icon that's grey and black and looks like some gears. Once you're in there, scan down the left-hand side and look for Accessibility. And when you've found it, please select it, and you should end up with a list of accessibility options on the right-hand side. Okay, now we're looking at the accessibility options. You'll see that they're split into 4 sections: vision, physical and motor, hearing, and general. And as I mentioned, today I'm going to look at a few of the vision options. The first vision option we'll look at is zoom. Zoom allows portions of the screen to be zoomed or magnified so that you can more easily read text or examine detail on, for example, a photograph. It does this by providing a little pop-up window that you can drag around, and it then magnifies the contents of that window. So firstly, select zoom. When you go into it, turn zoom on up the top, and then set the zoom level around about 4 like I have it. You should see a little window pop up that you can then drag around the screen. Give it a try. Note that the window is dragged around the screen by pressing lightly and dragging using the button at the bottom that I've highlighted. Okay, exit zoom, remembering to put the controls back the way they were. In other words, switch zoom off. Okay, the next menu item is actually the magnifier. Now, you may remember, as I said, we've looked at the magnifier before when we looked at the control panel and how you could add and remove controls from the control panel. The magnifier just looks like a little magnifying glass button. So we won't look at that anymore today. Okay, the next section is then display and text size. So please select display and text size, and you should see then a large menu of options on the right-hand side. The first item in the display and text size menu is bold text. Bold text is one option for making text a bit more readable. See how the text stands out much more when I turn bold text on. Give it a try, but don't forget, turn it back off before we move on to the next section. The next item in the display and text size menu is larger text. So we'll look at that now. Select larger text and turn it on. You'll then see a screen with another switch at the top, larger accessibility sizes, leave that off for the moment, and a slider control at the bottom where if you slide it to the right, text gets bigger, and if you slide it to the left, text gets smaller. Give it a try, slide it all the way to the right, for example, as I've done here, and you'll see that text gets quite a bit larger. Okay, now turn on the larger accessibility sizes switch. With the larger accessibility sizes switch switched on, we now have access to even larger text. You'll see the slider control at the bottom has more graduations, and if you now try to move the slider to the right, as I've done here, taken to the extreme, you can have massive text. Okay, so please turn off the larger accessibility sizes switch, and also please turn off the larger text switch, and return to the display and text size menu. The last item I'd like to look at today is increased contrast. As you'll see here, when I turn the increased contrast switch on, the contrast is increased. In other words, the emphasis between the lighter and darker areas is changed. making things potentially a bit easier to read. Okay, that'll do for today's session on some of the accessibility options. Note that even within the display and text size menu, there are other options that may be useful for people. For example, color filters and differentiate without color may be useful for people with either color blindness or sensitivity to certain colors. Within the accessibility menu itself, there are many other options. Note my word of caution earlier. When you're trying something, only try one thing at a time, determine whether or not it's useful, and then turn it off if it's not. That's all for now. Happy iPadding.